Hello everyone and welcome to Riverside for Series 2 of the F1 Classic Series with Formula 1 1967 cars. This is SimRacingOnline and I'm your commentator today, Caitlin Penny, talking you through the qualifying session followed by the race here from Riverside. It's a circuit that was used all the way through the 50s, the 60s, the 70s, right up until 89, sorry, when it unfortunately closed and has since had a car park built on top of it. Big shame, and a circuit that is sorely missed within the racing community. But it's great to see it revived here today, along with the F1 1967 field here on Assetto Corsa with SimRacingOnline. Currently in qualifying, we are being topped by, let me see if I can find him. We're currently being topped by Tim Muttram, who I was watching right before the session, and I noticed has an incredible slidey driving style. In fact, let's ride on board with Muttram. If I can find the correct buttons, I cannot. There we go. Let's ride on board with Muttram for a lap of the circuit. You can see we head underneath a bridge and onto the circuit for the first time. A very fast left-hander at turn 1. Unfortunately, no fancy corner names for this circuit, but just very fast at turn 1. And that actually wasn't turn 1. I'm getting it completely confused. We're actually coming towards the end of the lap. There we go. That's the final corner, and now we start the race. Sorry, I thought we were later in the lap than we actually were. Fast left-hander at turn 1, followed by an also very fast right-hander at turn 2, although a touch on the brakes as you flick through that. And then we head through the S's. You go right and then left and right again. And it's important to keep the car under control here as you head up towards turn 6, right at the back of the course, climbing up the hill through the hairpin. And you can see just how sideways Muttram is getting it there. He's been doing that all the way through practice and just demonstrates such massive amounts of car control, such massive ability, as he now brakes over the crest towards the left-hand hairpin at turn 7 and gets on the accelerator. Watch as the rear end kicks away. I saw one lap in practice where he was absolutely sideways through the entire corner and just powering his way around it. It was one of the most incredible things to watch. Out to the final corner we go. Look at that full left-hand opposite lock pretty much. And then out of turn 8 and along the back straight underneath the bridge as we head towards the end of another qualifying lap. This one looks as if it's going to be very quick indeed. We have a long banked right-hander at turn 9, and of course with bank corners it's important to keep the car low as you don't want to get off the grippy line on the outside there. And Muttram keeps it absolutely in the groove, crosses the line, and that was actually a much slower lap than his best, a long way down. And well, Muttram can absolutely go better than that one. Currently topping the times with a 139.022. Let's watch last year's champion Yucca Drug. Of course, if you're into a masterclass of F1 1967 performance, then you can't look much further than Yucca Drug. He's an absolute genius behind the wheel, and of course won almost every single race that we held last year. Actually won all but one race, and that's because he didn't start the other one. So still a 100% winning record here at SimRacingOnline for Yucca Drug, and a real champion in this league. Hello to everyone watching us in the YouTube chat. Matthew Hendy says heya. Brett Metcalf says good evening. Andrew Williams says evening all. Hello to all of you. And Brett Metcalf says he's been rather ill these past couple of months. Well, get well soon, Brett. We hope to see you back on track sooner rather than later. And yeah, it'd be great to see you. I don't know if you're into classic single teeters, but it would be fantastic to see you, maybe if you could join us before the end of this season. But yeah, as for Yucca Drug, he of course raced in 7 of the 8 rounds of the last season, absolutely dominated the championship. And other drivers who raced in that series who are with us today include Phil Brown, John Van der Geest, Fabrizio Ferranti, who ended up second in the championship, winning that other round that Drug didn't start. You also have Max Shepard, who raced with us for a large proportion of that year, as well as Bill Grucock, and also Jens Roos, Martin McClune, Carl Stieg, and I'm not sure... Oh, Steph Williams, sorry. Steph Williams was also another driver who joined us for, I think at least one round. Actually, maybe... I'm not entirely sure if he did. He definitely joined us for the GT1 Championship, but I don't think he did join us for the F1 1967s. Well, that's interesting. Okay, let's watch Fabrizio Ferranti. Second in the... Whoa, he's getting very high and actually wall rubs around the final corner there. He was actually second in the championship last season. And definitely a driver with a lot more to prove this year, although he pulls into the pits on that lap and doesn't quite go any faster this time around. Let's go... Oh, qualifying has actually finished. We've seen the checkered flag, and it's Tim Muttram who takes pole position, followed by Jukka Drug, Phil Brown, John Van der Geest, Fabrizio Ferranti, Max Shepard, Bill Grucock, Steph Williams, Jens Roos, Martin McClune, Mauro Mariani, Carl Stieg, the 12 drivers who are racing with us today. So that's the order, and Tim Muttram actually taking pole position by over 0.6 of a second from last season's champion Jukka Drug, and that is a massive difference, and very interesting to see someone who isn't Jukka Drug actually taking that position. So let's run you through the grid, as we've got just under 50 seconds to go until the start of this first race of the SimRacingOnline F1 Classic Series 2 round 1 from Riverside. And it's Tim Muttram starting from pole position in the Honda alongside Jukka Drug in the Lotus 49. This is a good chance to see exactly what kind of cars are racing with us here as well. We have we have Phil Brown third place in the Cooper, followed by John Van der Geest in the Eagle. Then we also have Brabhams, the first of them being Bill Grucock, and also McLaren's further back. But let's look to the head of the field as we get ready for the start, and go! Away we go! And does Jukka jump Tim off the start? He doesn't quite, so Tim Muttram leads into turn 1. What can Jukka Drug do about it? He's taking a look already, and well, didn't quite have the inside for turn 2. He wasn't quite far enough alongside. Look at Tim absolutely sliding through turn 2 there. Tim Muttram, fantastic car control from him, and he runs over the sand at the front there. Muttram leads, followed by Drug, and then Brown in the Cooper in third place. The Cooper, not the most popular car, but currently going well in the hands of Phil Brown. Then it's John Van der Geest, followed by Max Shepard, Bill Grucock, Ferranti, Williams, Roos, Mariani in the lead in McLaren, and then Stieg and McClune, the 12 drivers here today. Of course, no Ferraris, no Matras. Oh, I need to get my car off the grid, don't I? Well, I'm glad I checked that. My goodness. Excuse me about that. But anyway, Tim Muttram continues to lead, followed by Jukka Drug, who's actually having to fend off Phil Brown on the opening lap of the race, and Brown goes for it, and Drug's made a mistake. Drug's in the grass. So Jukka Drug makes a big, uncharacteristic mistake, loses many positions, drops to 6th place. He was second, remember. And he's dropped behind Brown, behind Van der Geest, behind Shepard, behind Grucock, and he's coming under attack from his championship rival from last season, Fabrizio Ferranti. That was very uncharacteristic from Jukka Drug on the opening lap of this race, and Fabrizio Ferranti very nearly pipped him for 6th place. What has happened for Jukka Drug? It looks as if he just outbraked himself there, going towards turn 6. And now his first target, if he wants to get back up where he was, is going to be Bill Grucock in that 5th position. Out of the final corner they go to complete lap 1 of the race. A very action-packed lap 1, a very up-and-down one, especially for Jukka Drug, who's already taking a look at Bill Grucock, and very nearly getting back at him, but not quite there. And after lap 1 of the race, it's Muttram still leading by over 2.5 seconds, an incredible lead from Tim Muttram. And then Brown, Van der Geest, Shepard, Grucock, Drug, Ferranti, Williams, Roos, and Mariani, the top 10 as they stand. I think McClune has been off at the back as he's dropped down quite a long way. Here's Shepard chasing down Van der Geest for third place, the two leading Eagles. And Shepard, of course, last year we saw in a Brabham, well, a Cooper at first and then a Brabham. He didn't really get on very well with either car. And I was speaking to him just before the race today, and he was saying that excuse me, sorry. He was saying that he's just struggling for pace, although he is getting along with the Eagle much, much better. And also Van der Geest sticking with the Eagle, being very loyal to it. He was in the Eagle last season and had some pretty good results. Was going to have a 4th place at Zandvoort before he had a big off there, but did manage a couple of podiums, if I remember correctly. Indeed he did. He was on the podium twice last season. Another driver that we don't have this year, who well, it's a shame to lose, is Laurent Lons. Of course, Lons finished 3rd in the championship last season, but of course not racing with us in this league, and that's a little bit of a shame, but hopefully we'll see him back in the future, as Van der Geest runs slightly wide there, and Drugs taking a look at Grucock for 5th position there. So 2 real fights going on at the head of the field here, as Carl Stieg has dropped behind Mariani there. Let's have a look back at exactly what happened. In fact, Stieg's in the pits, so oh no, he isn't. He's just recovering from a spin, it looks like. Carl Stieg, does he have damage to that car? No, he doesn't, but yeah, definitely had a quick off there. Back up to the head of this field. I'm still interested in this fight for 3rd place. Shepard not letting Van der Geest get away for the time being. And also we have a close fight behind them, as we have Grucock followed by Drug, Ferrante and Williams. That's a 4-way fight for that 5th position at this point in time. Also in the YouTube chat, Brett Metcalf says, hope to get back on track within the next month or so. That's good to see. And thank you, Caitlin. Hope I spoke your name correct. You did indeed. Well done. And he also says, hope John Van der Geest does well. Well, Van der Geest is doing okay so far in 3rd position, fending off Max Shepard and not giving him the opportunity that he needs as of yet. So a good job so far from John Van der Geest, as behind them, Yucca Drug took a quick look at Grucock, and Grucock's got off the line, and Drug is going to have the better run out of the final corner there, turn 9. So Drug alongside Grucock, trying to run around the outside into turn 1, and he's made it stick. A good move from Yucca Drug, and he is now up into 5th position. His next target will be Max Shepard in 4th position, although he does have to find 2.5 seconds to catch up to him. Meanwhile, the lead of the race is now 3.2 seconds from Muttram back to Brown. That's a very decent margin, a very decent gap, and Muttram really getting away in the lead. Where's he been hiding? Of course, last season we assumed that Drug was a real alien, and of course Drug is one of the quickest drivers I've ever seen racing. But Tim Muttram is absolutely blasting the field at this point in the time. He makes it look like taking candy from a baby. A baby. Although, admittedly, it is very early in the race to say that, so I will hold my tongue for now. Brett Metcalf also saying, can't you commentate and race as well, Caitlin? I wish. Sorry about that. And also Andrew Williams saying, oh, this will be fun now. Indeed, I believe that's referring to Yucca Drug having to chase his way through the pack. And indeed, I think that will be very fun to watch. Of course, Drug, we saw him fighting his way through the field in a couple of races last season. I believe he dropped back at the start at Zandvoort as well. And yeah, absolutely. Yucca, a great driver, and one who is always fun to watch. And now he is chasing down Max Shepard as of present. So we continue on our way here at Riverside. We're using the long version of the circuit, the full version. It's approximately, I don't know how many miles long. Sorry, I thought I'd find the stat while speaking, but I didn't quite. Approximately 3.3 miles long. Sorry about that. That's about 5.3 kilometers, and it takes these drivers about 1 minute and 40 seconds to complete it. So someone with a calculator will be able to work out what that is in terms of average speed. I haven't got one handy at present. Still just watching Shepherd. He's really sticking with John van der Geest at present. Well, behind him, Jukka Drug is reeling him in. He's already taken a whole second out of him since he got past Grukok. I would concentrate on other drivers, but there aren't really any close enough to attack yet. Of course, we're not expecting pit stops in these races. Tyre wear isn't really an issue, and the fuel tanks can definitely last the full race. So we're not expecting pit stops unless there's an incident. And if you do see a driver in the pits, something's gone wrong with them. Muttram, of course, making his debut with SimRacingOnline. Hasn't raced with us before. Meanwhile, Brown has pulled the gap in for the lead, taken about 1.5 seconds out of him. I wonder whether there was a slight mistake there from Tim Muttram. Now, Jukka Drug has been really catching the back of Max Shepherd, and he's really in this this fight for third place now. It's a three-way chain. He's hounding Max Shepherd. He's reeling him in, and we're seeing a real accordion effect here as the cars bunch up. And Max Shepherd's in an awkward position here because, well, he wants to. Oh, he's off. No, actually, sorry. Max Shepherd has made a mistake. He's gone off and up the bank at turn 7. Hopefully he doesn't lose any more positions from that, but he's dropped behind Jukka Drug. I was going to say he is going to have to push to avoid getting passed by Jukka Drug, but of course has Van der Geest ahead of him. Although now, unfortunately, he's been off the road and up the grass bank, and that's a shame to see. Hopefully he hasn't got too much grass in his tyres, and he's now under attack from Grukok there in 6th position. I'm gonna have a look quick. I'm gonna have a quick look back on the stream to see if I can spot. Unfortunately, I can't. Sorry. I did want to have a look back at the stream to see if I could spot exactly what had happened to him there, but unfortunately, that's not an option. Probably just missed his braking zone, possibly distracted by Drug in his mirrors, and wide he went. And yeah, it's an easy mistake to make, one we've seen a lot of other guys making, and that is a big shame. Lead has come down, was 2 seconds, now 1.5, says Andrew Williams. Caitlin said it as I wrote it. Yeah, pulled the words right out of your mouth, sorry about that. And yeah, Brett Metcalf just confirming that. Indeed, the lead gap did temporarily come down, did very briefly come down, although it doesn't appear to be too much of an issue at present. Certainly Brown not quite in attacking range. Meanwhile, here's Fabrizio Ferrante. He's been having a slightly disappointing race so far. Just not adapting to the Cooper as well as he would have liked, I should expect. And Ferrante, of course, was second in the championship last time out. Actually won our last race of the season at the Feldberg Ring, but not quite able to deliver the same quite yet. Currently running in 7th position. This is an un-Ferrante-ish performance. But, you know, can't write him off just yet. I should talk you through this series, of course. It's going to be 7 rounds, just like the last one. And we're going to be racing at some familiar tracks and also some that you would never have seen before. Of course, starting at Riverside. Next, we're going to Thompson Road. That's going to be in 2 weeks' time, followed by the Deutschland Ring. Then Bridgehampton, Charade, Longford, and Monza. Meanwhile, Bill Grukok there has just been passed by Ferrante. I didn't quite see that happening. I was looking away. But yeah, Ferrante up into 6th position as it stands. Out of all the races that I've seen on the calendar, I'd say I'm probably most looking forward to probably Longford. I very much like the Longford circuit. It's a very classic Very classic circuit, and one that I've seen a couple of races at. And yeah, it'd be great to see Longford back in action. Excuse me while I just take a look at trying to find out exactly which of those rounds were on the calendar last season, if any. Of course, I did commentate the season last year, but my memory goes pretty quickly. Whatever the case, back to the race. Ferranti and Grucock have now caught up to the back of Max Shepard. Sorry, as I clicked the wrong button. Shepard there coming under attack. And Ferranti knows that points only go down to 6th position, so he knows he can't allow Grucock to take that away from him. And also it means that every point is absolutely essential, and he needs to get himself past Shepard and up into further points paying positions. He'd be disappointed with 6, very disappointed. Running slightly wide at the last corner there. I'm wondering whether that's where he's losing some of his time. Does get a relatively good exit, but it's not a great mid-corner. Meanwhile, Jukka Drug has been catching John van der Geest. This is now the fight for 3rd position. Van der Geest, of course, earlier on was coming under attack from Max Shepard, but that pressure's eased. And now it's going to be Jukka Drug in the Phil Hill liveried Lotus 49. Of course, Drug sticking with that car after he won the title in it earlier this year, a couple of weeks ago. And obviously loyalty being valued between these two drivers here, with Van der Geest sticking with the Eagle and Drug sticking with the Lotus. The saying there is, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. And there's contact! And around goes Van der Geest! Jukka Drug seems to have run into the back of him! Oh my word, I didn't quite see that happening. I was looking away at the time, looking at the standings. But whatever the case, yeah, Jukka Drug there, just going into the back of John van der Geest. That could have been a lot worse. And, well, luckily they both more or less got away with it. But, yeah, what drama we've just witnessed. Now he goes back at John van der Geest, and they're side by side heading towards the final corner. In fact, looking back at the stream, it just seems like he wasn't expecting Van der Geest to be running so slowly in the mid-corner, with all respect to Van der Geest, and run into the back of him. Coming back at him towards turn 1, not finding a way through there. And John van der Geest will be a little bit more wary about Drug on his tail. That would have been a real wake-up call for him, I'm sure. And Jukka Drug needs to be more careful about things like that. Then again, I think that's about the first time I've ever seen Jukka Drug cause an accident, apart from maybe just running off the road a bit. He's up the inside. Van der Geest ran a little bit wide there through turn 6, but Drug's not able to keep it on the exit. That's the nature of this circuit. It's very windy. You've got left, right, left, right, left, right, and as a result, if you're on the inside of your opponent for one corner, you're going to be on the outside for the next. And that's a really ambitious move there from Jukka Drug, which hasn't paid off. John van der Geest was one driver I always felt like he wasn't quite giving his full potential, with all due respect to him. Last year he was racing, well, last season, sorry, he was racing the Eagle as he is now, and only managed 2 podiums. He was always there or thereabouts, but couldn't quite deliver the results he was hoping for. In terms of rounds that were on the calendar last season and are again, I think Monza may be the only one. Monza 66. Indeed it is. Jukka Drug taking another little look at Van der Geest there, but he needs to get more creative with his overtaking attempts. You need to be able to get yourself as far alongside your opponent as you possibly can. Otherwise, you don't really stand much of a chance. Gets his nose alongside Van der Geest. Possible wheel-to-wheel contact there. Goodness me. And definitely Yucca Drug very eager to get past Van der Geest. He knows that the whole while they're doing this, the two leaders, Muttram and Brown, are getting away from them. 10 seconds up the road at present, sorry. I should mention quickly that although Monza is the only circuit that's on both last season's calendar and this season's calendar, we are actually running a different layout of it this season. We're going to be running the full circuit as well as the banking, the classic Monza banking. So that's going to be a thrilling event. I'm sure there's going to be a lot of slipstreaming taking place there. And I'm really looking forward to that one. Drug taking a very wide line there. I don't quite think he knew that Van der Geest was going to attempt the same thing. And of course, it's never good to go quite that wide through the final corner, as you do end up getting right up on the dirtier part of the banking, the less used part of the banking, with less grip. Less than half a second separate them as they cross the start-finish line. Also still close are Shepherd and Ferrante behind them. Over 5th and 6th, you can see them just a couple of seconds down the road there. And as they climb the hill and crest the hill, Yucca Drug is still stuck behind Van der Geest. The next corner is probably his best opportunity, although he's too far back. Of course, turn 7 is probably the heaviest braking zone on the track, this corner here. But it's a tricky place to make a move, as it's a wide entry and you are cresting a hill at the time. No real overtaking opportunity for him there. Incidentally, we've lost our first driver from the race. Martin McLoone is in the pits and has been for a while. So only 11 drivers remaining on the road at this point in time, out of the 12 that started. Well, I said only, but then again, there's, one retirement in 20 minutes isn't bad at all. Andrew Williams says, oh, these cars don't go well over the hump at the start of the banking at Monza. That will be fun to watch. Indeed it will be. It is quite easy to unsettle a car like this, because of course they had very wafty suspension and no aerodynamics. So as a result, you can very much just unsettle the car. I noticed when testing a 1960s Formula 1 car on rFactor 2, a different very good racing simulator that SimRacingOnline also uses, that sometimes when you change gear, the car just wafts across the road and you don't quite know where it's going, and that's because of the suspension. You can set it up to be more like your liking, but it's always going to be a bit of a beast. That's how it was designed to be back in the day. I was watching earlier footage from the 1967 British Grand Prix. It's amazing how the cars seem to exit the corners perfectly sideways sometimes, perfectly angled towards the straights rather than the corners. And of course you could do that back then because you weren't being held down by wings, and of course you had less mechanical grip as well, so the cars did just tend to slide, and the best drivers could pull off fantastic four-wheel drifts. I saw that from Muttram all the way through practice and qualifying, and I wish I was being able to focus more on Muttram, and I promise that if we do get a better opportunity towards the end of this race, when there aren't cars fighting further back, I will absolutely give you a bit of Muttram action, because he just drove the car with car control that I haven't seen. Well, I haven't seen ever before, in fact. As Drug makes a big mistake and almost goes into the pit lane there. He got very sideways coming off the banking, slid the car around, very nearly spun, and also nearly found himself in the pit lane. That was very tense there for Yucca Drug. and just about holds it. Good for him. And yeah, that was very, very tense. As up ahead of them, there's been a little bit of drama, and he goes through into third place because Van der Geest has been held up with Carl Steeg. Steeg pulls off to the side of the road, and John Van der Geest, I don't think he quite knew what was going on there, and pulled off with him. Maybe there was contact. I didn't quite see exactly what happened there either. But yeah, John Van der Geest being really hampered there behind the backmarking Carl Steeg, and unfortunately loses his third position and drops behind Yucca Drug. So a bit of drama taking place there, and there was indeed contact. It seems that Steeg just didn't make himself predictable enough and pulled off too late over the front of John Van der Geest's car. And I wouldn't be surprised if Van der Geest is pretty annoyed with that one, and rightfully so. What a shame. Now, what can Van der Geest do about getting back at Drug? Can he stick with him? And can he possibly challenge him later on in the race? He needs to make sure he doesn't make any more mistakes. And Drug himself, of course, now has clean air. So can he set about chasing Phil Brown? Meanwhile, the gap for the lead has come out again to over 3 seconds. It's 3.667 seconds as of the present. And at the end of another lap's worth of racing, Van der Geest 1.3, almost 1.4 seconds off Yucca Drug. He has dropped back a little bit. What a shame for Van der Geest. Let's have a look back now to the fight between Shepard and Ferrante. Yes, that fight's still going on after all this time. Ferrante still sticking with Shepard and looking for an opportunity. Going slightly wide there at the top of the hill. It's a really tricky track to overtake at. There's no real opportunities. Especially since these cars have wonderful brakes. You can brake very, very late in them. And yeah, it means that it is pretty tricky to get yourself alongside the car in front. And because this track weaves left and right, and there aren't really any double apexes or any heavy braking zones, there really isn't much chance of an overtake unless the car ahead of you makes a mistake. And that's got to be very, very frustrating for Fabrizio Ferrante here, as he's stuck behind Max Shepard. With all due respect to Shepard, not quite as quick as Ferrante at this point in the race, although doing a great job to hold him off. Ooh, and Ferrante making a slight mistake there as well. Should remind you that points do indeed still just go back to 6th position, meaning that everyone from Ferrante up will score at least 1 point, and everyone from Gruycock down will score none at all. And Ferrante is on course for just 1 point compared to the winner, the eventual winner's 9 points. Oh, as off the road on the inside though went Shepard. That was very weird. Looks as if he just drove off the road. I'm not entirely sure why that was. Maybe a slight misjudgment or a slight mistake of some kind from Shepard, but he keeps his 5th place for now. And that almost surprised Ferrante. Wow. It's a very unnerving thing when you're chasing someone and you have been for a while, and then suddenly, completely out of the blue, they make a mistake in front of you, and you don't know which direction they're going to go. Sometimes you can really be caught out by it. And to be honest, I think Shepard's actually gained a little bit of time on Ferrante by that, because Ferrante had to back off. So that may have been an accidental tactic there from Shepard. Although still just half a second separate them, Ferrante will be getting a face full of slipstream. Not that that's going to affect him much at this point in time. Of course, slipstreaming was something that took place back in those days. It was something that these cars felt. But they just... Sorry. yeah, they just because they don't have the wings, the massive wings that modern Formula 1 cars do, they don't generate quite as much turbulent air and quite a big hole in said air. But whatever the case, the race continues and Ferrante is still stuck behind Shepherd, and he will still be getting very, very frustrated by this. Less than 18 minutes to go now, just over, well, 17 minutes now to go in this race. Ooh, as that is Ferrante getting alongside Shepherd. Sorry, I looked away. I thought that was a back marker. Ferrante and Shepherd are indeed side by side. I believe there was a back marker in that kicked it all off. And Ferrante still not quite able to get past Shepherd. Shepherd holding him off on the inside. But Ferrante gets a switchback and spins. Ferrante spins it around and they come together. And that's very unfortunate. Stieg there goes off in the background to avoid them. And that, I'm afraid, well, I think it was all kicked off by a back marker. I'm not entirely sure. I was looking away at the time, but the actual spin was just Ferrante maybe not quite having his brake balance where he wanted it and spinning the car around. And that means that Shepherd now has some weight lifted, and he will be in completely clean air at this point in time. As well as Bill Grucock going up into 6th place. So Grucock now into the points. And he will be very pleased with that. As, of course, before that he was running 7th place with 0 points. Martin McLoone says, I hit the barrier and lost steering. Pity, because I was going okay, but had to escape as I was left on the racing line. That is such a shame. I'm sorry to hear it, Martin. And we hope to see you back for future races, and we hope you have more luck in future races as well. Meanwhile, Grucock and Ferrante have got back up to Stieg, who is the McLaren, who you see them passing there. Nicely and safely done. Now, what can Ferrante do about getting back at Bill Grucock? He will feel like he deserves to be ahead of him. And, well, now he just has to prove that, as we have less than 15 minutes remaining in this race now. We're over half an hour in. Good time to run you through the race order, I should expect. Let's go and see if we can find the race leader. There he is. Tim Muttram still running in completely clean air in the lead of the race. Haven't been able to follow him much in this race, and that's because he simply has not been doing anything interesting, just running away and dominating the event so far. Meanwhile, Yucca Drug sits fast lap. Just watch Muttram's style as he really flicks it into every corner. He's steering out of the corners more than he's steering into them. This is brilliant. Exactly what you call steering with the throttle. In fact, he's steering more with the throttle than he is with the actual steering wheel. Phil Brown is second, running a very, very good race of his own. And we haven't mentioned Phil Brown much either. And that's because he's been running in completely clean air the whole way through, but doing a great job. Sometimes the quietest drivers are the quickest, and Brown is doing a great job. So is Yucca Drug, although he had a little bit of a sketchy start to the race, couple of mistakes, and he's still 10 seconds away from Brown in second place. John Vandergeest running 4th. Then we have Max Shepherd still running 5th. Bill Grucock running 6th, holding off Fabrizio Ferrante. But that is the battle for 6th position. Then we have Steph Williams, in 8th position. There he is. Jens Roos, let's go back to find him. He's just been lapped there in 9th position. 10th place, if we keep going back through the order. And a lap down is Mauro Mariani in the other McLaren. There he is. And also Carl Stieg in 11th place. So those are the 11 drivers still remaining in this race. And let's go back to that fight for 6th position. Still raging at this point in time. Where is it? There it is. Bill Grucock versus Fabrizio Ferrante heading down the back straight and towards the start-finish line. Yeah, more slipstreaming taking place, and Ferrante's going to have a look this time round. He's up the inside, heading towards... He actually cuts the slight kink altogether there, goes over the grass, as we have Grukok on his inside. Ferrante running very, very wide there. He's up in the dirtier, the colder part of the track. And Ferrante, well, he's going to have to... yeah, he's got it. So Grukok there, well, losing out there. And if I was Grukok, I may be complaining about that because Ferrante did cut the corner there to overtake him. Although, oh, and they're both off. Where are they going? Okay, well, they've both got it back under control again. Bill Grukok there went massively off the circuit, and I couldn't quite see exactly what had happened. They didn't tangle. It looked to me as if maybe Ferrante ran slightly wide, and Grukok ran even wider in sympathy. That's a weird one. But whatever the case, they both more or less get away with it, as we somehow get launched into a whole new sequence of camera angles. But yeah, somehow they went miles off the road. Oh well, neither of them lost out any positions from that. They're both running 52 seconds ahead of... Oh no, and Steph Williams is in the pits. So have we had an issue for Steph Williams? Oh, his steering is hanging very wildly to the right as he stops in his pit box. That is a huge shame for Steph Williams. Through goes Jens Roos into 8th place. And Roos is about to be lapped by... who's that? That's Phil Brown in 2nd place. Let's head up and watch Tim Muttram. In fact, let's ride on board with him as he absolutely drifted out. In fact, I very rarely do this, but let's ride behind the car so you can see just how sideways it gets through the corners. I know this camera angle isn't the most realistic to watch, but just watch this. Watch this as he goes through turn 7. That's absolutely blissful. He was on the throttle the entire time there, with the exception of a very brief flick on the entrance to the corner. Watch how through all of the right-handers he's steering left. Watch how through all of the left-handers he's steering right. Look at that. And I tell you what, that is exactly how you drive a classic single-seater. This is Jim Clark-esque. Let's watch him through the banking as well, as the absolutely sensational Tim Muttram fizzes around the Riverside circuit. That's the adjective that came to mind, especially when I think of the Honda. Little bit of understeer midway through the corner. That's something you do experience quite a lot through that final corner there. But look at the acceleration on the exit. Look at just how sideways he gets it. I told you that Tim Muttram was a genius, and to be honest, I'm very rarely a fan of a racing driver after just watching them drive, but I tell you what, I am a massive fan of Tim Muttram. This is brilliant. Up the hill, into turn 6, drift, find the second apex while still steering the opposite direction to the corner, and accelerate. I tell you what, that is the mark of a champion. You see other drivers doing that, Yucca Drug, for example, and some of the other drivers in this field as well, but you never see them doing it quite like Tim Muttram. Just fantastic. This is turn 8. Brilliant camera angle as well, really like that one. Oh my word, and that one too. You can see cars off in the distance there, going through the S's. Actually, that's a great place to spectate from. Riverside Circuit truly had some fantastic spectating opportunities, and some brilliant corners as well. It's a massive shame that the Riverside Circuit stopped being used in '89. And a massive shame that Formula 1 only went there once in 1960, because, well, to be honest, Formula 1 could have done with a circuit like this. Brett Metcalf says, wonderful car control by Tim. Is he a youngster? He's actually 38, so I believe he's probably come from the Grand Prix Legends era. Andrew Williams says no looking after tyres there for Tim. Indeed, well, he doesn't need to. He's just so far ahead of everyone else. He doesn't need to care. Second place still being run by Phil Brown. There he is in his Cooper, and I tell you what, this is the best drive I've seen from a Cooper so far. Last season, the Coopers were really struggling, and didn't really, well, nothing special really came of them. A couple of drivers started the season with a Cooper, sorry, but only one still had a Cooper by the end of the season, and that was Lewis DeFort, who unfortunately cannot make it to the race today. He was planning to, but had to do something else, I believe. But yeah, I noticed that the Cooper is probably the most sideways car of the bunch, naturally. It does just tend to kick out the rear and all-wheel drift. It's great to watch, and I really like that about it. But yeah, definitely not the most popular car in the league, and last year it was barely used at all. Then again, it was used more than the BRM, and more than the Matra that was never used at all. Through the banking comes Phil Brown. Little bit of understeer, little bit of a twitch. Yeah, I've noticed a couple of cars getting quite a bit of understeer there through the banking over the course of the meeting. The Cooper, probably one of the least successful cars that we have here today in the actual championship. The least successful of the lot was the McLaren BRM, which which only took a 4th place as its best result, but then again didn't make the entire series. The Cooper, on the other hand, did have some good results. In fact, won at South Africa, although I believe that was an older version of the Cooper, if I remember correctly. Indeed, that was the T8 one, and this is the T86, I think. Excuse me if I got that wrong. And that was in the hands of Pedro Rodriguez, the Mexican driver. Out of the turn 8 hairpin there, towards the long back straight goes Phil Brown. The most successful car in the 1967 F1 season was the Brabham. The Brabham Repco won the Constructors' Championship quite considerably, with 4 wins to its name, and the Lotus also had 4 wins to its name, but that was only in the hands of one driver, Jim Clark, whereas the Brabham won with 2 drivers, Denny Holm and Jack Brabham, sorry, who finished 1-2 in the championship. Jim Clark probably would have done better, but only finished 4th and 3rd in the championship due to some unreliability. And there you see a McLaren running wide. That would be that was Carl Stieg there getting out the way. Here's Yucca Drug in 3rd place. And here we have the lesser spotted Brabham. I really thought that the Brabham would be a car that we'd see a bit more of, since it won the actual championship in 67. It wasn't one of the wasn't one of the most powerful cars in the season that year. It was actually quite underpowered with its Repco engine. The engine to have that year was the Ford DFE, the Ford Cosworth DFE, that was introduced at the Zandvoort round and won its first race. But the Repco engine still did it okay, despite being one of the least powerful engines on the grid that year. And it was more its supreme reliability and its absolutely wonderful control. Only failed to finish 3 times that year, did the Brabham. 4 times, sorry, and that is a a massive achievement for a car of that era, seeing as cars tended to retire pretty much all the time back then. One of those being at Monaco in the hands of Jack Brabham. One of those being at Italy in the hands of Denny Holm. That was due to overheating, probably due to the gearing on the very first Monza circuit. And then they both retired actually at Spa in '67. But yeah, for back in those days, it was supreme reliability for the Brabham. Although, of course, luckily you don't have to worry about reliability. Oh, as Reese gets very sideways there over the crest of the hill. You don't have to worry about reliability in this, of course, because Assetto Corsa does not simulate engine failures. So you can just really push the engines to their max and not have to worry about that. Just to put that into perspective, well, the entire Brabham team only had 4 retirements from, let me work this out, 22 starts. Jim Clark himself had 5 from 11. So definitely, although the Ford DFE was the supreme engine to have in terms of pace, the Repco would always, very nearly always, get you to the finish. Jens Ruiz about to complete another lap. He sees, I think that's Phil Brown in his mirrors, who's going to be lapping him before long, but he has a little bit of time before that happens, so he doesn't have to worry too much about that. Andrew Williams says that maybe Tim's an alien. Yes, maybe. He's definitely driving like one. And Brett Metcalf says, yes, he is a youngster. Maybe to some of you. Nudge, nudge. MK3424 says, would love to race 2 in this series, but I'll fill up my schedule too much. Yeah, well, it'd be good to see you racing if you can make time for it. It's a brilliant, brilliant league. Tomorrow I have to drive the Cooper in GPL with the OAO League at the Saxon Ring. Okay, good luck in that. And Sunday, the DNF Series McLaren League with SimRacingOnline. Yeah, it'll be good to see you in that league. Good luck in that one. Yeah, we hope to see you in this league in the future if you can maybe make some time for it. Let's see who this is. That's John van der Geest in the Eagle. The Eagle, another car, of course, that suffered from poor reliability in '67. Dan Gurney, who made the Eagle, only finished 2 races that year out of the 11 that he started. However, in both of those races, he finished on the podium. I would hedge a bet that the Eagle, in terms of pure pace, was the fastest car on the grid. And there's no real way of proving that, but I think it may well have been. Meanwhile, the race is over. Tim Muttram, as I accidentally click all of the wrong buttons, has won. In fact, he was so far ahead of the field, I didn't even see that happening. Tim Muttram wins the race before I even knew it was the final lap with a fantastic, fantastic performance. Absolutely dominant in the Honda. Just fantastic. Phil Brown is second. Oh, excuse me. As I find it, there he is. Phil Brown is second. Yucca Drug disappointed with 3rd place, his first ever loss in SimRacingOnline, although still a decent performance from him and a podium finish. I'm struggling to find the drivers here. John van der Geest is 4th, followed by Max Shepard with a fantastic 5th place, his best result in SimRacingOnline F1 1967 so far. Fabrizio Ferrante will be disappointed with 6th place, but he will claim the final points paying position. Bill Grucock is going to claim 7th place. Jens Roos was 8th. Steph Williams is going to finish in 9th place, although of course he missed out on the points as well in the Lotus due to a lengthy pit stop. Mauro Mariani is going to finish in 10th place, and Carl Stieg will be classified 2 laps down in the other McLaren in 11th place. So what a fantastic, fantastic race with... what a fantastic race that was from Tim Muttram. I'm glad we had that opportunity to watch him for a few laps. Absolutely incredible performance, incredible drive. Whoa, as Mariani gets into the wall out of the last corner. And it looks as if he's going to not finish the race. Come on. You're right by the finish line, and I think he's broken the steering. Yes, he has, and he's having to wall rub his way to the line in the pit lane. That's one way to finish it. Well done, Mariano. But yeah, whatever the case, fantastic race from Muttram. Good race as well from Phil Bryan in second place. But you know, for driver of the day, you can't look much further than Tim Muttram in the Honda. Honda scored no victories last season, and now Tim Muttram has absolutely piloted it fantastically. So, final results: Muttram from Brown, Drug, Vandergeest, Shepard, Ferrante, Grucock, Roos, Williams, Mariani, Stieg, and unfortunately we had one retirement, who was Martin McLean earlier on. Very clean race, and I should commend all of the drivers. It's a tricky track, and to have a race as clean as that here, brilliant performance. We will see you in 2 weeks' time, and that will be from... Let me just find the calendar. That will be from Thompson Road. So definitely join us back in 2 weeks' time from Thompson Road. We should have more drivers there looking at the entry list. And yeah, we're going to have another spectacular race from these fantastic 1967 Formula One cars. Thank you all for joining us today, and thanks for the compliments as well. A couple of people seem to like my commentary. I'm glad about that. It was a pleasure to bring it to you. Thanks to Martin McLean, Brett Metcalf, MK3424, Andrew Williams, and everyone else who I may have missed who joined us in the YouTube chat. And we will see you in 2 weeks' time. Have a good one.